someone told me, and I haven't had a chance to, cross-check this with a news report, but I was told that the fires in Spokane were started by a complete moron and loser who had spent time in prison, was a convicted felon, and he set fire to that area in Spokane, and it was all caught on video. It's like, what kind of a moron do you have to be? So it is hazy out there, so I hope you're dealing with the well. Rip City Drive, Chad doing here. A lot of different things we're going to get to today. Dwayne Hankins, president of business operations for your Portland Trailblazers, has put out a message to all season ticket holders. So I'll read you that message and let you know what's coming up tomorrow. Of course, the all-important vote's coming up on August 12th. Now, we had him and his best friend on. My buddy Daniel is down in Phoenix, and he's donating a kidney to his best friend. And that procedure is tomorrow morning. So we're going to call my buddy Daniel coming up in 20 minutes, and we're going to get some insight on how he's feeling. I think there's a big celebration with the family and some of the friends in Phoenix tonight. That's going to be later on this evening. I just want to talk to him and see how he's doing and how he's feeling. Daniel's one of those guys, like a lot of dudes, who does not like going to the doctor. He doesn't like having his blood work done, doesn't want to be checked up on by the doctor. The whole thing freaks him out. And so for him to overcome that fear and showcase the courage that is required to go under and have someone operate on you and remove a part of you to give to your best friend so he can live and be able to thrive again, that's pretty awesome. So we'll get the latest from Daniel coming up at 3:20. And then at 5:20, the one, the only, Dave Bartu from Matrix Edge AI. We're going to talk football with him. We'll focus in on some win totals in the NFL. He's got some insight on fantasy, and we'll continue to talk about this new website, Matrix Edge AI, where Dave Bartu and one of his buddies, who is a genius, they've taken all of Dave Bartu's knowledge, which is extensive, with his formulas that he created himself, and they're using AI now to where you can go to the website and be able to look for and uncover whatever information you're looking for when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to football, when it comes to wagering. The website is awesome, and Dave Bartu is one of the world's most interesting men. Really smart, love talking ball with him, and Dave Bartu is going to join us coming up at 5:20. Now, the telephone number is the same, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620 if you want to jump on board. You are more than welcome to do so. I'd love to hear your voice, 503-248-0620. And you can also join in on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. You can watch the live stream in studio as the show continues throughout the course of the afternoon, 503-248-0620. Also, coming up at 5, normally Tuesday is a Hops Ticket Tuesday, but it's not going to be a Hops Ticket Tuesday today. We're going to have tickets for an upcoming concert that will be at the Clark County Fair. And this is the message I got from my man Casey, who's in the promotion department. He said, good afternoon. I'm waiting on the next wave of tickets for the Hops. In the meantime, I've got some tickets for you for the country group Midland, which is going to be playing Friday night at the Clark County Fair. And boom, there you have it. So we'll have tickets for Midland that we'll give away today at 5 o'clock. So if you'd like to see Midland, just listen to me for your chance to win at 5 o'clock, and you could take in a little summer concert series. You want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. Now, I mentioned Dwayne Hankins, the president of business operations for your Portland Trailblazers. He sent out this note to the season ticket holders. I want to read it for you so you kind of get an idea of what they're thinking. Dwayne Hankins in this letter wrote, Dear Rip City, this Wednesday, August 5th, which is tomorrow, Portland City Council will be taking public testimony about the future of Moda Center. Make your voice heard by testifying or showing up in Blazers gear. City Hall, Council Chambers, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue. That's Wednesday, August 5th at 9:30. Can't attend in person? You can still make your voice heard by signing the We Are Rip City petition right here at weareripcity.org. There is a lot of noise right now on the issue. online, in the media, and all across town. That's why it's so important that Portland's city councilors hear what Rip City means to you. Whether you show up in person or send a message online, your voice matters. Tell the council about your first Trailblazers game, your first Fire game, your favorite moments on the court, or the concert you'll never forget. Tell them what this team means to you and about the lifelong memories you've made at Moda Center. I truly believe you are the best fans in the world. The passion you bring to Rip City basketball and the Fire Pit every game night is unmatched. That's why it's so important that the city council hear from you. This is bigger than basketball. It's about Portland's future. Thank you, Dwayne Hankins, President of Business Operations. So there you have it. So if you want to make your voice heard, my friends, you can show up tomorrow at City Hall, Council Chambers, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue at 9:30, or just go to the weareripcity.org and sign the petition. And I do think it's important to make your voice heard. And after hearing from some of the council members at their work session last week, we had some openly admit that they don't even go to Blazer games. So it is important that they understand the importance, because I've wondered for quite some time now if the Portland City Council truly understands the value of sport. And not just with the Trailblazers or the Timbers or the Portland Fire or the Portland Thorns, but I've also wondered that when it comes to the public parks. I'm terrified that they're going to consider getting rid of or changing some of the golf courses in the area. And I love having public access because we get a chance to gather. We have a chance to come together as a community. We have a chance to get activity and movement. But Moda Center's been great for years. And I could think back from 30 years ago all the way up until now, and I can remember many great nights at Moda Center. I've seen a ton of concerts there. Obviously, I've been to countless number of Blazer games over the years. I went on a daddy-daughter date, my very first one, and took Kaylee to a Disney on Ice performance. I still haven't recovered financially from that night, but that was a super blast. So many good times. The NCAA tournament and the concerts, on and on and on, dating back as far as 30 years ago. I think my very first memory of Moda Center when I went there for the first time was seeing Arvydas Sabonis in a Trailblazer uniform for the first time ever when he came over and joined the team. And that was a fun night because Moda Center was brand new. This was in the preseason when the building had just opened, and I'm watching Arvydas handle the basketball and hold it like a grapefruit. And I'm like, how can a big guy have that type of vision, pass like that, and be able to shoot the rock? Is there anything this guy can't do? And then I wondered what it would have looked like had they gotten him in the early 90s when they had Clyde, Terry, and Buck, and Jerome. I think that team would have been pretty good with a younger, more agile Sabonis, but he was still great. I took my parents to see Neil Diamond. I saw Steely Dan for the first time at Moda Center. I've seen the Eagles there numerous times. Brooks and Dunn was an underrated great show. Disney on Ice, the NCAA tournament, and the list goes on and on and on. And that time I saw Don Henley in a solo concert with my buddy Steve back in 2000. We got tickets. I'd never been to the Theater of the Clouds, and with that set up, so we knew we had good seats, but the usher kept walking us down and down and down, and we are on the end of the first row right in front of the stage. And I'm looking up like, I have seen the top of the mountain, and it is good. So a lot of great memories there. So make your voice heard. Now, again, I will state where I stand. The same that I did yesterday, the day before, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago. I do not believe the team is going to move. I understand that this is a negotiation, so both sides are going to finger point from time to time. The rhetoric is going to get a little bit nasty, but in the end, a deal will be reached, and I expect a yes vote coming up on August 12th, which will then put the two sides in a position to where they can negotiate. And then by December, they'll have an agreement, and the extended lease will be signed, and then we can all just take a big sigh of relief because we know that the team's going to be here into the foreseeable future. And I thought last week's work session was pretty good. Not perfect. It was awkward at times, but in the end, there was dialogue. And there was less grandstanding and less finger pointing. And that's a good thing. And I thought Dwayne Hankins did a good job of representing himself and the team. So those are all very good things. Telephone number if you want to reach out is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. And make your voice heard. They deserve to hear from you. All right, Dave Bartu, Matrix Edge AI, going to join the show coming up at 5:20. So we'll get a chance to talk to Dave Bartu. And we're going to focus in on some NFL win totals. And coming up next, we're going to hear from a man, Daniel. But this right here, just take a listen to this. This is why you need to make your voice heard. Olivia Clark.
There are intangible benefits to having them here that we cannot measure. There's no scientific approach. I mean, maybe polling is about as close as you get. And, you know, I admit I don't go to Blazer games, but I can feel how important this is to our whole community, that we do this right. There is an emotional, if not a spiritual support for having the Blazers here. You can feel it, you can palpate it. It's about hope, it's about the future, and that's not something that you can calculate the value of. I just wanted to throw that out there, remind everybody how important this is.
Just throw it on out there, Ms. Clark. That's awful. That's why you need to go down there tomorrow to let your voice be heard, so that Olivia can better understand, because she does not attend games, but she has a feeling. Well, that makes you feel really secure. All right, 503-248-0620. We're going to head to Phoenix next, and we'll check in with Daniel the day before the procedure where he's going to donate a kidney to his best friend. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, the big day is coming up tomorrow. My good friend Daniel is in Phoenix getting ready for the procedure tomorrow where he's going to donate a kidney to his best friend, Johnny. And I just got a message from my man, Scotty Bethune, who said, hey, do me a favor. Tell your buddy Daniel he is a badass. Well, no problem. I will tell him that right now. Daniel, welcome back to the show, my friend. I know you're down in Phoenix, and Scotty wanted me to tell you that you're a badass. So congratulations.
I appreciate that. Chad, the budding doing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. So why don't you let people know what's going on today? So from my understanding, you're having like a celebration or a party with some family and friends later on in Phoenix this evening.
Yeah, so actually about an hour and a half from now, we're going to be celebrating. Got friends and family coming from out of town. My parents just got here. My sister, my brother, got a lot of friends that came down to support, but we will have a little bit of a party going down. Johnny is throwing me like a little celebration party to celebrate the occasion, so we're excited about that.
That's pretty awesome. So what are you going to have as a meal, or what are you looking to accomplish tonight? I would imagine for you, I know you're anxious and you're gripping a little bit about the procedure tomorrow, but having a nice meal and getting a chance to hang out with friends and family has got to make you feel better, I would guess.
It's you know how I am with people around. I'm not the most talkative guy in the world, but I guess I got to be a little bit outgoing today. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some steak, whatever they have at the Henry's. It's a good restaurant, so whatever they have there. I haven't been able to eat that well, so we'll see. Like I've told you before, the anxiety is a little high right now. There's a lot of butterflies in my stomach, and I'm just ready to get this up and going and get back to recovery and get everything good and going.
Now, the butterflies you're talking about is your fear of basically going to the doctor. When did that start? Did that happen at a young age? What created that fear or the anxiety about going to the doctor, getting tested, having them give you information, any of that stuff?
I think, you know what? It's funny because I'm going to say something funny. It was probably in sixth grade when they were talking to us about the sex ed thing in sixth grade in health class. And ever since then, I've been just not grossed out, but it gave me a funky feeling inside where it just makes me want to throw up every time I think about the doctors, and I have a weird phobia around it. So to be honest with you, probably sixth grade. That's the longest I can remember.
I know. I remember going through sex ed and then going home and asking my mom questions about the things I was learning, and I don't think she appreciated that much. But man, I'm glad you're doing this. And for you to be able to make this step and know that you're going to take care of your buddy Johnny, that's got to make you feel good as well. But why don't you tell everyone what happened? So you went to church with him and his family this past weekend. So what happened there?
All right. So, yeah, we went to the Romanian church, big Romanian church down in Phoenix, Arizona. And the pastor, I didn't know this was happening, but he made me stand up in front of everybody. And he basically announced everything, saying how much of a hero I was and just giving me mad props. So that was cool to see, even though I was extremely nervous and the legs were shaking a little bit because I'm not used to that kind of attention. But it was really cool. They announced it in church and they talked about me, it was really nice.
That's pretty sweet. Daniel is with us here getting ready to donate a kidney tomorrow to his best friend Johnny down in Phoenix. Now, I've never donated it in Oregon, so what is the recovery process like when you come out of surgery? What have they told you, and what do you have to do, and how long does it take to heal?
So the recovery process is, since I'm a fairly healthy young man, shouldn't take too long. It's 6 to 8 weeks, no lifting of any kind of over 10 pounds, so no running, no lifting weights. Basically, they just want you to relax. My recovery process is a lot easier than Johnny's because Johnny's body has to accept the kidney and all that, but it should be pretty simple. The procedures tomorrow should take around 3 hours. I will have a catheter in, which kind of sucks for 24 hours. Not looking forward to that. But besides that, they said I should be able to make a full recovery and get back to my normal way of life. My kidney function was at 127 when they tested me, so it was really, really good, which is a blessing in itself, considering all the nonsense I put in my body since I've been 19 years old. So it's a blessing, but they said I should be able to make a full recovery.
Yeah, it's terrific. I'm so happy. Now, I'm assuming, what did they tell you about having one kidney? Do we need two kidneys to function, or do they tell you you'll be fine the rest of your life with one?
No, we're good with one kidney. My mom has had one kidney for the last 30 years, and she's extremely healthy. But you just gotta, you gotta take care of yourself. You can't be, being fat and enjoying fat foods. You gotta avoid those kind of things. You just gotta be healthy, live a healthy lifestyle. You know me, I don't do well with being fat, so I'm gonna definitely make sure I don't let myself go, if you know what I mean.
No, I understand. That's going to be the hardest part for you is not exercising for a time being after the procedure. It's going to drive you crazy.
I know, especially I'm used to like working out 4 or 5 days a week, running, being outdoors, and like, the job I do, I'm always, talking to people. Like I won't be able to see people. I'm off of work for 2 months. So it's going to be a little different just being stuck in the house, but I guess it is what it is. And, I just got to make the best of it. And, I can chill on Netflix and, talk to my lady friends.
Yeah, Netflix and chill, baby. All right, so you're a big Seahawk fan. You love the Oregon Ducks, and you're a huge Portland Trailblazer fan. So you just got a Seahawks Super Bowl. So what do you want more right now, a Trailblazers championship or a Ducks national title? Where do you sit with that?
Well, considering the Blazers are never going to win a championship and the Ducks actually have a chance at it this year, hey, you know what they say every year? This is our year, baby. This is the best team that there's been there in Oregon in the last 30 years. Like, the Ducks are going to take it this year. You know it.
Maybe you're going to get blessed. Maybe you'll get blessed with the Ducks national title because you're giving away your kidney. But I would say on paper right now, and again, you got to play the games, but on paper, this has got the potential to be arguably the best Ducks team of all time.
Yeah, especially with the defensive line coming back. That cool cat at quarterback from Detroit, Michigan is there, and, they're ready to roll this year. And their schedule isn't too crazy. I know they play at Ohio State, but we say this every year, Chad. I've been a Ducks fan since '97, seen a lot of heartbreak, witnessed them losing to Washington in Vegas. That was fun in front of all those Husky fans. I've witnessed a lot of disappointment with them, so they could just bring me one. Hey, all I need is one. I'm not being greedy here. I just need one.
All right.
I'll die a happy man.
Now, Daniel, before you go under the knife, I want to ask you a question about your lady friend. Can I ask you a question about her? Or do you want me to leave that subject alone?
We got to leave the subject alone. We can't talk about that.
Okay. I just make it sure. But I'm going to need updates on what we talked about once you get word from that situation.
I got you.
Okay,
I can't leave from the other spot.
No, it's okay. I'll leave that subject alone. I just wanted to make sure. All right. So, like, what's going through your mind right now? And I guess what I want to know is what was the reaction? You've been around his family from his wife and from his kids. Like, what's it been like over the last few days since you got there?
No, it's been good, bro. There's a lot of thank yous, a lot of like hero calling, and just everybody's super thankful for me and a lot of gratitude. His mother-in-law was super sweet. That's where I'm staying at to recover. So everybody's been super nice. Even people at his church have been super nice. A lot of people know about it. So everybody I've talked to within the last couple of weeks has been super supportive.
You know what's great is that, and that's nice that people say that and they feel that about you, but you're not doing it because you want to feel like a hero. He's just your best friend and you really care about him and you want to do the right thing and help. And you were a match and you're going to be able to help him. It wasn't about being a hero. This is your best friend, man. This is like your brother.
Yeah. And plus, the situation with my mom back in '97, almost 30 years ago, my mom had kidney failure and my grandpa came in and gave her a kidney. So it runs close to the family. And I remember being 7 years old and my mom being sick in bed and, worrying that she was going to die. So when I saw him and him needing a kidney, it just brought me back to that time when I was a kid. So I was like, I got to offer it, even though, how I feel about the doctors and everything. So it's just a blessing. It's kind of crazy. My mom had a kidney transplant 29 years ago, and now 29 years later, I'm going to be paying it forward.
That's great. And you said your mom's going to come down and help tend to you when you come out of the procedure?
Yep. We actually just picked her up about an hour ago. So she's in Scottsdale right now.
There's nothing better than a good mom, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. My mom, my dad, my two sisters are here, my brother. Most of my family's here.
All right. So why don't you tell everyone about the Romanian culture? You're Romanian, and I know it's important to you. You just went back to Romania and had a chance to visit, which is really cool. But and I know that your family's really close, but just give us a glimpse of the Romanian culture and what it means to you.
I mean, they're wild. They're wild people, beautiful people. I mean, it's a crazy, what's the word? Like just the traditions, like, I grew up Christian. So it's a lot of closeness, very close to the family, very tight family, all that.
That's great. All right, Daniel, I'll let you go, man. Hey, enjoy the party tonight. And then what we'll do is we'll check back in with you following the procedure when you're in recovery, when you have a chance to talk, and we'll see how everything went. But I'm proud of you, dude. I love you, and I'm excited for Johnny because he's going to have a chance to have that second lease on life, which is really cool. But I'll be praying for you, man. And I know you're gonna be fine, dude. You're gonna be just fine.
Hey, you know how I'm feeling right now. The anxiety's high. My hands are a little shaky, but it's all in God's hands, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Him. So if I couldn't handle it, I wouldn't be here. So I'm excited to get it over with. And
now, in case you don't, I do. I'm excited for you. But in case you don't make it past the procedure tomorrow, do you want to share one last blonde joke on the radio?
Hey, Chad, what's the difference between me and a blonde? Hey, the blonde has a higher sperm count. Hey-o!
All right. Hey, give my best to Johnny, all right?
I will. He says hello. Bye.
Okay. Jeez. There you go. That's Daniel. Oh, my goodness. You can hear him laughing in the background. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Nothing like a good blonde joke on a Tuesday afternoon. 503-248-0620. This is pretty exciting. Edan Krolowitz from Rip City, Not Rip Off, he hit me up and said, got a scoop for you if you want. It's public records that came out today, and it shows some leaked internal emails from the Blazers. So what we're going to do is he's going to join us coming up at 3:45. He's got an interview he's doing at 4, but he'll come on and share what this information is. I have not seen the report because it has not been made public, so we'll have a little news breaking here with the Don Krolowitz. Got a scoop for you if you want it. It's public records that came out today, and it shows leaked internal emails from the Blazers. There you go. So we'll do that coming up at 3:45. But Daniel, he's a good guy, man. And he's best friends. So Johnny they're like, they're besties. That's his best friend. He has a chance to help him out. And we've all got that best friend in our life, right? Like my buddy Steve lives down in Las Vegas. And if he needed something like this, I would do whatever I could for him. And it was crazy because back in, 2020, that's when he had the brain bleed, when he collapsed on his downstairs living room floor, and one of his other buddies helped him get to the hospital. And when I went down to see him, he couldn't even walk, and he could barely hold on to a cup to take a drink of water. And so I was there and had a chance to, walk with him through that process, but he was able to recuperate. Now he's doing fine, but that was pretty scary. And, my brother donated a kidney once, but unfortunately it didn't take, and that was to a young boy. But it's pretty amazing with the technology and what they can do. I think it's wild that they can take an organ from one person's body and put it in another person's body, and it can work. That is remarkable. That's a blessing. So my man Daniel will go through the procedure tomorrow, and I will keep you updated on the entire process. One of the other things I'm going to get to today, Mike Sando from The Athletic has put together his quarterback tiers once again. And what I want you to do, if you want to know about one particular quarterback, just hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City, or just text me at 360-281-5473, and I will read the intel on that quarterback. But it's separated out into multiple tiers, and I think you have a pretty good idea of who's going to be the top-tier quarterbacks. It's the usual suspects. But there are some guys who have taken a bit of a slide in the tiers, and also some guys who have made a dramatic leap because of the progress they're making in their game. And as you know, in the NFL, quarterback play is everything. The Seahawks unloaded Geno Smith. They brought in Sam Darnold, and they got better play at that position, ended up winning a Super Bowl. What tier is Sam Darnold in? What about Bo Nix, coming off a season where he went 14-3, but unfortunately ripped up his ankle before the AFC title game? I just love the list. And what I like most about it is you have executives and coaches who are commenting, and they're the ones doing the voting on the quarterback tiers. But it's cool to read their insight on what they think about these other players, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what defensive coordinators think about preparing for certain quarterbacks in the NFL. I love that kind of stuff. And the uniqueness of the position, because there are many different ways to play it at a high level. Joe Burrow does his damage strictly from the pocket, his ability to manipulate the pocket, slide his feet, and deliver the football with timing and accuracy. Or you have someone like Lamar Jackson, who is an elite athlete, who is improving as a downfield passer, but can take off and run and kill you with his legs. Patrick Mahomes can do a little bit of everything. He can beat you from the pocket. He can beat you with his legs. He's got ridiculous arm angles, and he can throw from many different platforms. I love it. So we're going to read through some of that, and we'll give you some intel on that. Now, Daniel did mention the Oregon Ducks. I would say this. I was talking with Brendan before the show began. The Ducks are going to be awesome this year. Now, that doesn't necessarily equate to a national title, but I'm a big believer, one, in their program and how committed they are to winning, which is how organized they are when it comes to their football program. But Dan Lanning's a stud. His recruiting, his relentless energy, his motivation, and the way he's elevated the program has been terrific. But when you continue to put yourself in a position to where you're knocking at the door and you're doing the right things and you're continuing to work hard, eventually that door is going to fly open. And that's how I view Oregon right now, where it's like, man, they keep putting themselves in a position, and Dan Lanning is getting better as a head coach, and they have no shortage of resources, and they've got the talent. There's no reason why Oregon can't be there. But most importantly, under Lanning, what we've seen, or I guess where I think we've seen the dramatic improvement, has been with that play at the line of scrimmage, where they can now line up with anybody in the country knowing that they can compete physically and they're not going to get pushed around. And that's really valuable. So props to Dan Lanning, doing a heck of a job. But that is the latest poll that came out today. Ohio State, number 1 in the coaches poll. Oregon, 2. Georgia, 3. Texas, 4. And Notre Dame, 5. And I would not be surprised if one of those 5 is the eventual national champion. Indiana right now, the defending national champs, 6th. And don't forget, even though they don't have Fernando Mendoza, they did go out and get Josh Hoover, who transfers over from TCU, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And they have the best coach in Kurt Signetti. All right, when we come back, Idan Krolowitz breaking some news on the Trailblazers right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Dwayne Hankins, the president of business operations today, sent out a message to season ticket holders with the Trailblazers saying, Dear Rip City, this Wednesday, August 5th, the Portland City Council will be taking public testimony about the future of Moda Center. Make your voice heard by testifying or showing up in Blazers gear, City Hall, Council Chambers, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue, tomorrow, August 5th at 9:30 a.m. If you can't attend in person, you can still make your voice heard by signing the We Are Rip City petition here at weareripcity.org. There's a lot of noise right now on the issue, online, in the media, and all across town. That's why it's so important that Portland's city councilors hear what Rip City means to you. Whether you show up in person or send a message online, your voice matters. Tell the council about your first Trailblazers game, your first Fire game, your favorite moments on the court, or the concert you'll never forget. Tell them what this team means to you and about the lifelong memories you made in Moda Center. I truly believe that you are the best fans in the world. The passion you bring to Rip City basketball and the Fire Pit every game is unmatched. That's why it's so important that the city council hear from you. This is bigger than basketball. It's about Portland's future. Thank you, Dwayne Hankins, president of business operations. So there you have it. Dwayne Hankins has put out the message. Now, I mentioned before that the man behind Rip City Not Rip Off, Don Krolowitz, is going to join the show, and he is, but we had to move him. He's going to join us coming up at 5:45. He's getting inundated with different conversations he has to jump into, but he's got some inside information on a public records request that has uncovered some internal emails. And I'll save that for Edon coming up at 5:45. And, of course, tomorrow you can make your voice heard by showing up at Portland City Council, 9:30. Or you can simply go to weareripcity.org and sign the petition. And then we got the all-important vote coming up on August 12th. So we'll talk to Edon Krolowitz coming up at 5:45. If you want to jump on board the show, you can do so simply by calling 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That is the telephone number. Whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. 503-248-0620. My man Tony in Boring says Colin was running that horrible take on his promo commercials today, and he definitely specifies that LeBron is the most influential NBA player of all time. Bleh. That's disgusting. That is a bad take, too. But these people that are tied into or very close to the Clutch agency, which is run by LeBron, I can't take what they say seriously because they're influenced. I watched both of them throughout the course of their career. LeBron's is still going. I watched MJ throughout the course of his entire career. There's no doubt in my mind that MJ is the greatest basketball player of all time. Definitely of anybody I've seen in my lifetime. In fact, I would go as far to say that of the elite athletes that I have seen, including Tiger, Mike Tyson, I've never seen someone more consistently great than MJ. Reliable, someone you could always count on in the clutch, and a guy that was the best on the biggest stage. But this is a take he's referring to right here. Yesterday, this is Colin Cowherd on The Herd talking about LeBron being the most influential NBA player of all time.
Think about this. Michael Jordan played for 9 years and said, I need a break. It's too much. Michael Jordan famously hides in his hotel room. 9 years, I'm going to play baseball. This is overwhelming. LeBron's like, year 24, bring it on. Think about that. 24 years with all these platforms, more access, more coverage. It's established now. When Michael first got into the league, it wasn't global. Michael helped make it global. It's been global day one with LeBron. More hate, more vitriol, more access, more coverage. MJ, after 9 years, I'm out. I'm going to go hit some baseballs. 24 years in a row. Bring it on. I'm here. So, listen, he's going to drive reportedly $450 million of business into the Philadelphia economy. Who needs a data center? Just acquire LeBron.
All right, that's a bad take. one thing you got to remember about influence, just remember what Michael Jordan did through the advertising in the late 80s and early 90s. And it really started with the launch of the Nike campaign with Spike Lee. Air Jordan, Air Jordan, Air Jordan. He elevated the basketball shoe into a different stratosphere. And I went to school with a bunch of boys that wanted to be just like him. The Come Fly With Me video was amazing. I got that as part of my SI subscription. And then from the Nike campaign, MJ was a spokesperson for McDonald's, obviously Gatorade, and the Be Like Mike campaign, amazing. Ever Ready batteries, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, he was a marketing gem. And companies, big time, Fortune 500 companies wanted to align themselves with his brand. And rightfully so, because he was so awesome. Just a terrific, terrific player. But the one thing I really take exception with what Colin said was that MJ ran away from basketball because of the pressure after 9 years. That's not true. He stepped away from the game because after he won his third consecutive championship and beat the Suns, his father was murdered in cold blood. And he had the noise around him when it came to the gambling. And I talked to Michael Franzese, who said that he had heard, even though he couldn't confirm it as 100% fact, that, David Stern, pressured Michael to step away from the game so that noise would die down with the gambling. He didn't want that associated with the game. And so he chose to go play baseball. And then when he came back, he won 3 consecutive titles. He didn't step away because he couldn't handle the pressure. There's no one I've seen that could handle pressure better than MJ. He was unbelievable. But there was a lot going on personally for him at the time, and he was probably pressured to step away from the game. So, bad take. But I've heard a lot of bad MJ takes over the last couple of months because of the voices in the media who are represented by Clutch continuing to try and change history or push the narrative that somehow LeBron is greater than Mike. And like I've said before, the debate kills me because I'm Team MJ. There's nothing someone could say to me to where I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought about that before. You're right. LeBron's the greatest of all time. And if you did not grow up watching MJ, but you grew up watching LeBron, there's nothing I could say to you that would change your mind. And even though we have access to all these old games on YouTube, and I watch a lot of old games all the time, it's not the same as living it and being around in person when that stuff's going on and the impact it has on you. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Dave Bartu from Matrix Edge AI talking football coming up at 5:20. And Don Krolowitz with some breaking news on the Blazers at 5:45. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, it's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. What's up, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. The coaches' preseason poll is out. Ohio State is number 1. Oregon is number 2, followed by Georgia, Texas, and Notre Dame to round out the top 5. The defending national champs, Indiana, 6th. The Chicago Bears have given Darnell Wright a 4-year, $116 million extension, coming with $93 million in guaranteed money, which makes him the highest-paid right tackle in history. Falcons edge rusher Jalen Walker is feared to have torn his ACL. From baseball, Tarek Skubal is going to make his Dodgers debut today. L.A. is in Chicago to take on the Cubs at Wrigley. That first pitch just after 5. The Mariners open a series against the Tigers tonight at T-Mobile Park. That first pitch at 6:40. Emerson Hancock on the bump for Seattle. Dave Bartu from Matrix Edge AI will join us coming up at 5:20 to talk football. All right, going back to that LeBron-Michael Jordan discussion, from the 503, it was him against himself as much as it was him against the opponent in regard to Michael Jordan. And that's exactly right. When you get to a certain level and you're that great of a basketball player or athlete, you have to find ways to motivate yourself because you know that you're better than your competition. And that's why Michael Jordan was maniacal when it came to finding different sources to fuel his desire to go out and dominate. Whether it was George Karl ignoring him at a restaurant, and of course they both had North Carolina ties, or him perceiving it as a slight that Clyde Drexler was considered to be on the same level as him right before they met in the NBA Finals. You know, little things like that. And so he would have to deal with that mind game, the mind battle, to find different ways to continue to motivate and show up and be ready to go. And that's what I admire about the greatest athletes of all time is how they're able to keep their level of play so high over an extended stretch because it's hard to be great for an extended period of time. But, I mean, the athletes, we know them, you know, the greats, the best of the best, they have a way of continuing to dominate their sport over the course of time. Tom Brady did it, Peyton Manning, Michael Jordan. It's awesome. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. You can share your thoughts. Don't forget, tomorrow, the public has a chance to make their voices heard. You can show up at City Hall, Council Chambers, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue, 9:30, or you can simply go to weareripcity.org and sign the petition. Show up in your Blazer gear. You can speak publicly, whatever you desire to do. But it's going to be important. And then we got the big vote coming up on August 12th. I'll get to Mike Sando's quarterback tiers here in a moment, but let's go out. My man Pat in Portland is on the line. Let's go talk to Pat. Pat, appreciate the call. You're back on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind today, brother?
Hey, I thought I'd come out and give you some news I've been hearing on the national level the last 2 weekends. I've been listening to a lot of different sports shows on different radio stations across the country. And I found out, even yours with Fox Sports, I should say, that 4 different times on 4 different shows in the last 2 weeks, I've heard different announcers state that it's a done deal. The Blazers are truly moving, and there's no way to save them.
Well,
I've heard that come out of the mouths of all these different people across the country, and they don't usually talk about us up here that often. But I was just curious that kind of news is being spread across the country that Yeah, it's a done deal. They're not going to stay in Portland. They're going somewhere. I don't know where, but at least that's what the news is. And the guy hasn't even been actually voted in by the owners yet to even say that he can truly be the true owner yet, I don't think.
Well, Pat, I appreciate the phone call, and obviously you can jump on anytime you want. Well, the people who are commenting nationally, these are people, there's a couple of different things going on there. First off, and I've heard this from Brian Windhorst, I mean, guys that I respect in how they cover the league, but again, this is the value of local reporting compared to national pundits or national reporters. They're not here with boots on the ground, and they're not talking to people within the organization or with city council. They're reading the reports that they're getting from Bill Oram or John Canzano or anywhere else in town and then trying to give a take on it. So they don't really have the insight of what's truly going on. So when someone on a national level is sharing their input, they're not speaking with any type of inside information or authority because they're not schooled on the situation. And why would they be? I mean, if you're Brian Windhorst, why would you get caught up in the minutia on Portland City Council? I mean, you're not going to. So they're reading the reports that they're getting out of Portland and then sharing their take based on that. And depending on who you read or who you're getting your information from, that could definitely, taint your view of the entire situation. There's no question about it. So I think that's why you're hearing those type of reports on a national level, because I've heard some of the same ones, Pat. But I wouldn't be alarmed by that. I still think we're in the same situation. You're in the middle of a negotiation. The rhetoric is nasty at times, finger pointing. But we're going to get a yes vote on the August 12th. And then that's going to put both sides in a position to negotiate the particulars, and then we'll get the lease agreement extension for 20 years. And the team will be in place for the extended period of time. The NBA Board of Governors is not going to turn down free money, meaning this comes down to one simple thing. And this is why it's important to let your voices be heard tomorrow down at City Hall. If the money's approved, the NBA is not going to allow the Blazers to leave. That's not going to happen. They're not going to turn down, after negotiating and getting an agreement, they're not going to turn down $573 million. Who does that? Nobody. Not only that, it would be very bad. It would be a black eye for the league. If they go through a process of negotiation, they get the state, the city, and the county to agree, and then they step out or try to back out after that. That's not going to happen. Now, if they were to vote no and the Blazers don't get the funding, that changes everything. But I do not believe that's going to happen. There's no way. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Now, you can reach out on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. You can text me directly at 360-281-5473. What I want to do is go through some of the quarterback tiers on this awesome piece, annual piece by Mike Sando. So if you have a quarterback that you would like information on, every single quarterback is placed into a tier. And here's what Mike Sando from The Athletic had to say about this year's quarterback tiers. Quarterback tiers results for 2026 are here, and there's clarity at the top with 4 overwhelming Tier 1 selections and nobody else coming close. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow commanded 191 of a possible 200 top-tier votes from the panel of 50 coaches and executives. Lamar Jackson dropped into Tier 2 with a dozen others, including upstarts Drake May and Caleb Williams, making this the largest second tier in the 13-year history of the survey. While the Seattle Seahawks' latest Super Bowl winning quarterback Sam Darnold climbed into the expansive Tier 2, the team's previous one, Russell Wilson, dropped from the survey altogether. That left Stafford and Aaron Rodgers as the only players to appear in every quarterback tier since the survey's 2014 inception. The 2026 QB tiers results are complete with commentary from the panel of 50 voters who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share candid evaluations. The panel this year consisted of 8 general managers, 5 assistant GMs, 5 former GMs, and 3 other executives, plus 9 head coaches, 10 defensive coordinators, 5 offensive coordinators, 2 offensive assistants, 1 defensive assistant, and 2 coaches specializing in analytics/game management. That's 21 execs and 29 coaches overall. Each voter placed 35 veteran quarterbacks into 5 tiers, from the best tier, which is tier 1, to the worst tier, tier 5. Quarterbacks were then ranked by average vote and placed into tiers. The survey excludes rookies because voters have not seen them play in the NFL. Now, if I said, who do you think is the top quarterback on the list? Who do you think that might be? Would you pick Matthew Stafford? What about Joe Burrow or Josh Allen? Well, even with the knee injury last year, Patrick Mahomes is still at the top of tier number 1. And this is when I know a list is pretty legit, because I don't care what anybody says. I know who the best quarterback in the NFL is. His name is Patrick Mahomes. Now, do I like that? No, I'm a Bronco fan, and I despise Kansas City, but I respect the heck out of Patrick Mahomes because he plays the position at an incredibly elite level, and he can do so many special things on the field. So let me give you a sample of the insight from the coaches and executives on Patrick Mahomes. And Mike Sando writes, Mahomes sits alone in the top spot, but for the first time since 2022, one of the voters, a GM, placed him in the second tier. Quote, I know one sees this list, but no one wants to be the one that takes the one off, a defensive coordinator said. He has earned that. Almost no one wants to take off the one. Mahomes turns 31 in September. His scramble rate climbed to a career-high 9% last season, an indication that he was doing more with his legs to prop up an offense short on dynamic receiving threats. Is that sustainable with Mahomes coming off a torn ACL? Quote, Pat had no run game last year, none, another exec said. He's in a really bad spot when he doesn't have any run game. On top of that, they were missing Rashee Rice for the first 6 games. Once Rashee came back, Pat was actually pretty darn good. And then the wheels fell off against Houston, and he got hurt. The exec paused. Quote, I'll bet he gets some 2 votes this year, he added. Not some, just 1, equaling the total he received from 2019 to 2025. Quote, he's not carrying them every week anymore. The GM placing Mahomes in the second tier said they had the season in 2024 when they were historically, you could say, lucky in the one-possession games and then got trounced in the Super Bowl. They were not as impressive in the one-possession games in 2025. Now he's coming off an injury. Is he going to deteriorate physically? Sando continues, Mahomes is already back on the field for the Chiefs training camp. One veteran coach laughed off suggestions Mahomes was in decline, noting that Joe Montana faced similar questions after 3 successive one-and-done playoff exits in the 80s. Montana then won 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls over the next 3 seasons. Quote, I don't think he is going to look any different than what he was mobility-wise, an offensive coordinator said. He has never been the fastest. He just has unbelievable core strength and quickness and agility and vision and feel to create. I wouldn't expect drop-off there. Kenneth Walker, III's addition in free agency, could restore the ground game for Mahomes. Quote, I still think he's a 1, but this year will show, a defensive coach said. You watch him warm up. His legs are strong, but he's got a belly. He's not pretty like Josh Allen. His upper body is kind of just there. If his legs go, he might fall off quicker than other people think. What I'm saying is getting in the best possible shape could be important for him over the next second half of his career. And that's what they had to say about the number 1 quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. That is an incredible quote. I still think he's a 1, but this year will show, a defensive coach said. You watch him warm up, his legs are strong, but he's got a belly. Well, I hate to think that Patrick Mahomes' belly might derail him from tier number 1. So if there's any quarterbacks that you'd like to hear about, just reach out on the text line at 88528, and I'll give the info from Mike Sando. But it's a great piece, and for you NFL fans, I would suggest you read through it. We'll keep things rolling. More quarterback talk. Dave Bartu going to join us coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Kenny in Vancouver just reached out to me and said he missed Edon. What was in the email? Well, Edon was supposed to join me at 3:45, but we had to move him to 5:45 because he had a couple other things pop up. So he's got some breaking news on the Trailblazers, some information that was discovered through public records request. So he'll join us at 5:45 today to give us the latest. We're going to talk with Dave Bartu from Matrix Edge AI. He's going to talk football with us coming up here in about an hour. If you want to reach out, you can do so. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can also find me on social media at Chad and Rip City. At Chad and Rip City. Scotty Bethune has chimed in. Cowherd is a clown. Disappointing that he worked in our market somehow. Also, Scotty chimed in. 4% of people, if I remember right, only have one kidney, and many of those don't even know it. Many are discovered during a pregnancy with ultrasounds. I don't know. I've never had my kidney count checked. I have no idea. But there's a lot of things I don't know about me because I'm adopted. So I could have one kidney. I could have two. I have no idea. Because they always ask me, when you go to the doctor, they want to know your health history. Or you go to the dentist, they give you this long list of things you got to check on. You know the dumb lists. It annoys me when I get the clipboard with the little pin and you got to fill stuff out. It drives you crazy. I don't know how to answer any of that stuff because I don't know. I just know I don't have any health issues that I'm aware of. 503-248-0620. Also, coming up at 5 o'clock, instead of hop tickets today, we got some country tickets at the Clark County Fair. So if you want to jump on board, we're going to give away some at 5. And Casey just sent me a note and said he's got tickets for Midland, and they're going to be playing Friday night at Clark County Fairgrounds. So you can have a chance to check them out. It's that time of year. Unfortunately, the air quality is just garbage right now. In fact, I was talking with Scotty. I mentioned this yesterday. It's not as bad today, but you could definitely see the haze, and there's decreased visibility. The air quality right now is awful. I was playing golf this morning, and the sun was like orange, coming through the clouds and the smoke. But I do remember that. What was that, 2020? Was it 21? What was the year we had all the heavy smoke? They closed some of the golf courses down in the Portland area, and it was right when I had planned some vacation, a little staycation, to burn some vacation days, and I was just going to play golf every day. And I was gripping because a number of courses in the Portland area closed, so I went up and found a couple of spots in Washington that remained open. But it was like playing in the middle of fog. Like you couldn't even see your ball once you whacked it into the air. You couldn't see where it came down. You had to walk up and find it on the fairway. Crazy. It probably shouldn't have been out there, but, I'm dumb. Like a lot of guys are. I'm like, dude, I got this. But mostly just because I didn't want to waste my time that I had, planned on taking off. But yeah, the visibility was bad today. And like I said, someone told me today that the idiot who started it in Spokane was a convicted felon. And he was caught on video. So he's out there setting fire and causing all sorts of damage, and someone's recording him while he's doing it. Good job, fool. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can also, chime in. Hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. If you have a quarterback that you would like information on, Mike Sandos put out his quarterback tiers in The Athletic, the annual survey, which I think is terrific. And we can talk about whichever quarterback you want. The tier 1, which is considered the elite quarterbacks, is Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes is number 1, followed by Josh Allen. And then you have Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. So there's only 4 quarterbacks in that first tier. And I have no problem with that list. It's pretty awesome. What is a tier 1 quarterback? Well, here's how Sando defines it. Carries his team each week. The team wins because of him. Expertly handles pure passing situations. And you know what the pure passing situations are? It's like those third down and long situations where the defense knows that you're going to throw. You know you're going to throw. You're probably trailing late in the game, and yet the quarterback is still able to drop back and navigate and deliver the football on time and with accuracy and put together game-winning drives. It's being able to succeed in a situation where the defense knows what you're going to do and they still can't stop you. Or let's just put it this way. You're in a pure passing situation. The defense knows what's coming, and they're nervous about this guy dropping back and whipping the football around the yard. That's what a Tier 1 quarterback does. Now, Josh Allen, who some people think is the best quarterback in the NFL, he had 48 Tier 1 votes, 2 Tier 2 votes. Here is what Sando said about Josh. Allen moved 1 vote closer towards unanimous Tier 1 status and could be the most feared quarterback in the league. Quote, Josh Allen is unreal, a defensive coordinator said. He and Stafford are the 2 guys I would not want to play the most. Allen's ability to make plays, be hard to tackle, put the team on his shoulders, and when it's 4th down, he's going to win. One veteran coach said Allen still has much to learn. Quote, Josh Allen, with under 30 seconds left in the half, runs for a meaningless 12-yard gain and fumbles and gives up a field goal in a playoff game to go behind 2 scores against Denver, this coach said. Until he quits doing that, you can't rank him as the top quarterback. This is one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Cost them the game. Others saw positives. Quote, the thing that jumped out to me about the playoffs last year was the physicality and the plays the quarterback make with their toughness, their size, and their strength, particularly as they advance on, one exec said. Josh has got that. Obviously, it's TBD with the new head coach, Joe Brady. But one thing that those guys in the top tier do is when you get off the bus on the road, the other 52 guys think they got a chance. Allen led all quarterbacks in rushing with 579 yards and rushing touchdowns with 14 last year. Quote, he's the real deal because he can do it as a drop-back quarterback, and they do some run game with him, another defensive coordinator said. The way they use him is the way Baltimore uses Lamar Jackson to get the most out of him. A GM noted that the Bills have given Allen a strong defense and a strong run game, but not at the same time. Quote, Josh is a 1 because he is the reason they remain competitive, this GM said. He's so physically talented, but I'm ready to say he's never going to win a Super Bowl because their team's getting worse around him. And I think his style of football is going to start breaking him down physically. Very interesting. Now, Joe Burrow is considered like your classic, pocket quarterback. He had 46 Tier 1 votes, 4 for Tier 2. Sando writes, missing 9 games to injury last season wasn't enough to knock Burrow from the top tier, the Tier 1 ranks. Quote, Stafford, Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes are all different. But at the end of the day, they can single-handedly win games, the defensive coordinator said. Burrow has had a harder time winning over the past 3 seasons because the Bengals have ranked 29th in defensive EPA per play over that span. He's so talented at throwing the ball, and he sees it so well, an offensive coach said. Everyone will want to have him 10 times out of 10, no matter how much money he asks for. Burrow is 10-5 over the past 3 seasons when his team scores 30 or more points. That win rate at 6.67 ranks him last among 14 quarterbacks with at least 10 set starts over that span. The other 13 quarterbacks are 199, 23, and 2 in those starts. Quote, I'm going to say 2, even though I want to say 1, a former GM said. I love the accuracy and anticipation. It's just that he has been a little up and down due to the injuries. And that really is the big question mark with Joe Burrow, right? We all know he can ball. Guy's freaking awesome. But can he stay healthy? Though the Bengals' offensive line is a key variable in the durability equation, voters also think Cincinnati takes risks with its franchise quarterback. Quote, as much as I respect the head coach, Zach Taylor, as a play caller, and I like him a lot, it is insane how they do not protect Burrow, one voter said. It's 3rd and 10 from the plus 45. They're playing Cleveland. That situation, you're trying to get in range of the field goal. They come out with open edges. They are spread out. This is either a screen or a ball that is coming out quick, right? They did drop back pass. Bang. What do you think happened? Sack. Some voters said Burrow prefers it that way. Not the sacks, but the wide open offense. Quote, they know he's going to get hit, and they know they're going to have some issues and take some sacks, and they think the risk is worth the reward because he's an unbelievable passer. They have unbelievable skill talent, and that is how they score points and win games. An offensive coordinator said, quote, they prefer he doesn't get hurt, but I'd also argue the injuries he's had have been weird. There you go. And then they jump into tier 2. So if you got any thoughts on quarterbacks, let me tell you what they say about a couple of Oregon guys. Justin Herbert is in tier 2. Lamar Jackson's at the top of tier 2 at 5, and Justin Herbert is listed second in tier 2, the 6th best quarterback in the NFL. He had 19 tier 1 votes, 28 tier 2 votes, and 3 tier 3 votes. Now, whoever's putting Herbert in tier 3 is a hater. That's crazy talk. Sando writes about Justin Herbert. Herbert has had either poor defense / special team support, a weak offensive line, or underwhelming weaponry throughout his Chargers career. Quote, he's taken so many hits where it's impacting his reads, a defensive coach said. He's playing with quick feet at times when he gets it early, which he wasn't doing as a younger guy. I get it. The guy has been hit every year. Some voters are tired of hearing about it. Quote, how long has he been in the league now? The defensive coordinator asked. They've never won a playoff game. I get it. Like, if you're the guy at some point, I feel like they've been sniffing around enough. He should have had more accolades at this point. 6 of the 8 GMs polled place Herbert in the top tier. Only 13 of the other 42 voters had Herbert that high. Among coaches, those with offensive backgrounds liked Herbert more than coaches with defensive backgrounds did. It all points to the gap between Herbert's obvious physical talent and his disappointing on-the-field results. GMs and offensive coaches would love to have him. Quote, losing both starting tackles last year was a huge issue, an executive said. It'll be real interesting to see how he plays with the coordinator change from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel, a completely different energy in offensive philosophy. With the line hurting, Herbert rushed for a career-high 490 yards last year, second to Allen among quarterbacks. Quote, he looks exactly where he's supposed to look. He does exactly what he is supposed to do, but when it breaks down, he is big and strong enough to run your ass over, an opposing coach said. So, that's what it comes down to for Justin Herbert. I think he's an elite quarterback. Obviously, the voters in this panel believe he's an elite quarterback. It just needs to translate to on-the-field success. And so far in the postseason, horrendous loss to Jacksonville, where he did very little in the second half. They had a tough road loss at Houston, and we saw what happened last year when they got wrecked by the New England Patriots. They haven't been good enough. And that's just how, whether it's fair or not, that's how quarterbacks are judged, what you do in the postseason, right? So there you have it. 503-248-0620. Don Krolowitz from Rip City, Not Rip Off, will join the show at 5:45 for the breaking news that he has. And we'll talk with Dave Bartu. We'll get his take on NFL win totals. We'll talk to him about some fantasy stuff. He's continuing to put together information for Matrix Edge AI, which is terrific. Now, in case you missed it, I wanted you to hear this. Phil Steele, the author of the College Football Bible, joined the show last week, and I asked him about the Oregon Ducks, and here's what he had to say.
I see there's one of the most talented rosters in college football. And, we just talked about the homegrown chart. They rank number 27 in the country in that, which is pretty high for a team that brings in as many portal players as they do. I like the fact that this year, a lot less portal transactions. And experience-wise, last year, Oregon was just number 87 on my experience chart. This year, they're all the way up to number 20. Got to tell you, Chad, I did not expect to be talking about Dante Moore in this year's magazine. I thought he'd be long gone to the NFL as the top 5 draft pick, and when he announced he was going to return, wow. And then you look at the receiving corps. Remember last year they got banged up. Evan Stewart basically missed a year. DeCorian Moore missed a good portion of it. Those guys are both back. McClellan's back. They've got one of the top tight ends in the country, and Jamari Johnson. 2 offensive linemen return, and I rate the Ducks as a top 10 offensive line. All 4 units on the offense rank in my top 10, and I rate them the number 2 overall offense in the country. Defensively, love the defensive front. All 4 starters back on that unit. I rate it the second best defensive line in the country. Secondary, again, you've got a shutdown corner in Brandon Finney. You got an outstanding safety in Aaron Flowers. And then you add in Coy Parrott from Minnesota. It's my number 2 secondary in the country, and the linebacking core also top-notch. I rated number 26. Special teams is the one unit I don't have in my top 25. It's I rate them number 40, but this is a very talented team. And, when you look at the schedule this year, the USC game is going to be tricky, week 4, and the Ohio State game, traveling to face them in Columbus November 7th. But this is clearly a national title contending team for Oregon this year. And if they do win it, how about 4 different Big Ten teams winning the national title in 4 years? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that would truly be remarkable. What's been the biggest change that you've noticed with the Oregon roster from the top down since Dan Lanning took over?
Just the overall talent. And, having one of the better NILs in college football is a big plus. And then retaining the talent has been a big plus. And that sometimes is a huge factor, just keeping the players on the roster the next year. And to get players like Dante Moore and Brandon Finney to come back once again this year, it's a pretty good situation.
All right, with the Big Ten, do you see it as a 4-team race with Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, and USC? And if so, how would you slot those teams in conference?
Yeah, and Chad, what I did, actually, I had a tough time picking one ahead of the other. I think Oregon's right there talent-wise, but they do have to play at Ohio State. Ohio State's right there talent-wise, but they do have to play at Indiana. Indiana's right there talent-wise. If quarterback comes along, and Coach Cignetti always develops one, and they get Ohio State at home and don't have to face Oregon. So I put all 3 actually in a tie for the top. And then after those 3, I put USC. But USC does have a chance of making the playoff this year. Remember last year where they headed into Autzen Stadium, they won that game. They would have been in the playoff last year. And when you look at this year's squad, talking to Coach Riley, he feels that the defense is the best he's had there in his 5 years. I love the addition of Gary Patterson as defensive coordinator. You look at them offensively, they've got Jaden Maeva, who might be a first-round draft pick this year. The solid running back, they were banged up at running back last year. They had to go to a walk-on King Miller, who nearly had 1,000 yards. Miller's back, Wayman Jordan's back. They had in a couple of VHT True Frosh. And then I really like is the offensive line. I rated number 5 in the country. It's one of the more veteran units out there. Now, they host Oregon, and they host Ohio State. And they were 7-0 at home last year. If they take care of business at home, they could get into the playoff.
503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Phil Steele talking about the Oregon Ducks. Man, they just keep putting themselves in a position. You keep knocking on the door, eventually it's going to open. I can't wait for college football. It's just fun to see the first poll put out, even though it's meaningless to a certain degree. It's just cool to see the first poll, and then you can kind of see which teams are up there at the top, which teams have a chance to make a run, and, of course, just take a look at the power conference dominance. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC. We got some ACC teams in there as well, but Ohio State and Oregon, your top 2 teams are from the Big Ten. Georgia, Texas at 3 and 4, 2 teams from the SEC. Indiana is at 6, a 3rd Big Ten team in the top 10. Miami, ACC. And then you've got Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss, 3 teams from the SEC. So the big conferences continuing to feast. All right, we'll come back. Take your phone calls, 503-248-0620. And we got country music tickets to give away at 5. Dave Bartu at 5:20, and then Idan Kralowitz with the breaking news at 5:45. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday, my friends. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I got stuck in a George Michael YouTube web the other night, going back through some of his greatest hits. So good. So good. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let me tell you what Mike Sando found out about Bo Nix, former Oregon Duck and quarterback of my beloved Denver Broncos. Bo Nix is now at the very top of tier number 3. And I don't have an issue with that. Bo Nix has still got a lot of things that he has to improve upon. And I think he will with his, work ethic, his diligence. And then, of course, going into year number 3 in the same offense and having a head coach like Sean Payton. So Bo Nix is 18th in the NFL. He's at the top of tier number 3. And Sando has tier 3 quarterbacks defined as legit starter, but needs better running game or defense to win. Lower volume drop back passing offense suits him the best. And here's what Sando uncovered about Nix. Nix jumped from the middle of tier 3, where he debuted last year, to the verge of tier 2 after leading the league in game-winning drives with 7. Quote, good, dynamic, can run a little bit, and exec said he plays big in big moments, but just as easily as he can win games for you, he can lose games for you. They're as good as they are largely because of their defense is as good as it gets, and Sean Payton does a nice job helping him make plays within his skill set. Nix led the league in pass attempts last season without being considered a dynamic passer. Quote, the one thing we were worried about was his legs, a defensive coordinator said. There's nothing where you're like, this guy is going to single-handedly put it on his shoulders and beat you. He manages, picks his spots, gets a scramble, makes enough plays to win. And that is a common view, according to Sando. Quote, the passing game is not him operating from the pocket necessarily, an offensive coordinator said. There are a bunch of RPO throws, screens, bubbles, and then the movement throws. It seems like they are worried about him, too, consistently winning from the pocket. Quote, now he makes up for a lot of it with the way he runs. One voter, a head coach, placed Nix in the tier 1. Now, what I want to know is, who is that coach? That feels like it could be a Sean Payton vote to me. Quote, I like his command, his confidence, this coach said. Yeah, the scheme helps him, but you still, you can't just plug anybody in there to make that scheme go. There are some parallels between Nix and former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. Let me tell you something. I don't want my franchise quarterback having any parallels with Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is a really cool guy, but I think Bo Nix is a superior quarterback to Derek Carr. Carr jumped from a 3.11 voting average in his QB tiers debut to 2.62 in his second appearance, ranking 16th, much the way Nix has risen. Carr then jumped to 7th, 1.90 before regressing. Quote, Nix is a 2 for sure, a defensive coach said. He can make all the off-balance throws. He is perfect for Sean Payton because he can handle Sean ripping his ass. And that has always been the key. Drew Brees going, F you, Sean, just call the play. Nix is in that mindset. And it's true. I've seen Nix and Payton go at it multiple times. I love that. Nix, who is participating fully at training camp after having his ankle surgery in January, will have a new play caller in his third season after Payton passed those duties to new offensive coordinator Davis Webb. So there you go. Bo Nix at the top of tier number 3. And really, I don't have a problem with that. Nix was awesome last year in year number 2. And the Broncos won 14 games. But Denver also led the NFL in 3-and-outs. You want to be considered a better quarterback. You want to take your team to the next level. You cannot lead the NFL in 3-and-outs, for crying out loud, because you put your defense right back on the field and you put a lot of pressure on them. You've got to be better. Nix was ultra productive, and I think he's only getting better, but man, you cannot lead the NFL in 3-and-outs. That's a bad offense. I mean, the idea is to possess the ball, move the football, give your defense a bit of a break. But that's what I'm excited about with Nix. He's got the mobility, but he's also got the smarts and the accuracy to win from the pocket. And he's fortunate, unlike a lot of QBs in the game, where he's now going into year number 3 in the same offense. I feel bad for these young quarterbacks who get with a bad franchise, and then they have constant change in the coaching ranks. New head coaches, new coordinators, new system. I mean, it's hard enough to win in the NFL as it is under the same system. But I think, what Bo was talking about at practice this week is, it's like after you've ridden a bike for a few years, you jump on and you don't even think. You just start pedaling and you get to where you got to go. And he's starting to feel that type of comfort in the offense where when he gets the play, he's not worried about the motion or how many steps he's got to take in the drop back. He knows where his players are going to be. He knows the play, what they're trying to accomplish. So what it does is it puts any quarterback, when you've got that type of confidence and understanding, you all of a sudden, instead of worrying about your play and your offense, you're thinking about the defense. Because you know what your offense is going to do. So when you're thinking about the defense, it puts you in an attack mentality where now you can start to manipulate the defense at the line. You can start to spend more time instead of worrying about the play and trying to figure out what's going on with your guys. You can focus more on the defense and what type of front they have, what they're going to do in the back end, and then decipher all that information before the ball snaps. So it puts you in a position to dictate. And that's really what being an NFL quarterback is all about. Early on, when you first start, you got to rely on your athleticism, but as you start to gain an understanding of the offense you run and a better understanding of how NFL defenses are trying to attack you, that's where you can really start to be a difference maker because you're studying the defense before the snap and being able to know what's going to happen. It's great. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We got some country tickets to give away next, and then Dave Bartu will stop by at 5:20. Edon Krolowitz with some breaking Blazers news after a records request. That's coming up at 5:45. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. We start with the NFL. The Chicago Bears have given Darnell Wright a 4-year, $116 million extension. It comes with $93 million in guaranteed money. He is now the highest-paid right tackle in history. Falcons edge rusher Jalen Walker is feared to have torn an ACL. Major League Baseball, Dodgers and Cubs getting ready to start in Chicago at Wrigley. Tarek Skubal going to make his debut with L.A. Mariners open a series tonight against the Tigers. At T-Mobile Park, that first pitch at 6:40, Emerson Hancock gets the call for Seattle. And the coaches' preseason poll is out for college football. Oregon is number 2. Ohio State is in the top spot. Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame round out the top 5. We're going to talk with Dave Bartu, Matrix Edge AI, coming up at 5:20. All right, a couple of things to accomplish over the next hour. Dwayne Hankins, the president of business operations for the Blazers, put out a letter today to Rip City saying, Dear Rip City, this Wednesday, which is tomorrow, August 5th, the Portland City Council will be taking public testimony about the future of Moda Center. Make your voice heard by testifying or showing up in Blazers gear. City Hall, Council Chambers, 1221 Southwest 4th Avenue at 9:30. And if you can't attend in person, you can still make your voice heard by signing the petition at weareripcity.org. There's a lot of noise right now on the issue, online, in the media, and across town. That's why it's so important that the Portland City Councilors hear what Rip City means to you. Whether you show up in person or send a message online, your voice matters. Tell the council about your first Blazers game, your first Fire game, your favorite moments on the court, or the concert you'll never forget. Tell them what this team means to you and about the lifelong memories you've made at Moda Center. I truly believe that you are the best fans in the world. The passion you bring to Rip City basketball and the Fire Pit every game is unmatched. That's why it's so important that the City Council hear from you. This is bigger than basketball. It's about Portland's future. Thank you, Dwayne Hankins, president of business operations. So, right when I mentioned that off the top of the show, Don Krolowitz from Rip City Not Rip Off hit me up and said, hey, I've got some breaking news with some reports that are going to surface after a records request. So we got some insight from the Blazers based on some internal emails that were leaked. He's going to join us coming up at 5:45 to give us the latest on that. He was going to join us earlier, but then he got tied up. So 5:45 at Don Krolowitz with the details on the internal emails. So we'll do that today. And then here in about 15 minutes, Dave Bartu from Matrix Edge AI will talk some football. So there you have it. So if you want to show up tomorrow, 9:30 at City Hall, wear your Blazers gear. You can, testify if you want. Public testimony is going to be available. Or you can reach out to your local leaders, which I've encouraged everyone I've talked to do. You just got to let them know how important this is to get this deal done and to get a yes vote coming up on August 12th so that the Blazers and the city can come to an agreement, get the extended lease signed, and then boom, everything is going to be good. And that's where I'm at. I still think things are going to get done. I'm not worried about the team leaving. The negotiations get nasty sometimes, but that's okay. It's going to drive them to the negotiating table, and both sides will be able to communicate, get things done. Boom. And then we can finally move on to talking about, like basketball matters, like who's going to start in the backcourt. What's that going to look like defensively if you got Dame and Ja back there? The usual stuff. And that's where I'm at. So not concerned. And these negotiations, they're timely. They're frustrating at times. If you watched the open session last week, you were probably frustrated or wanted to pull your hair out at a couple of different moments, but I did enjoy the dialogue from both sides. And aside from a couple of individuals who did some grandstanding, it was just nice to hear from both sides. And that's progress. And I thought Dwayne Hankins did a heck of a job representing himself and the franchise. All right, we have some tickets to give away. Normally, we have a Hops Ticket Tuesday, but we're still waiting to get that next batch of Hop tickets. So we'll have Hop tickets at some time to give away this week, but we're not going to send you away with nothing here on a Tuesday. So what we have are tickets for the Midland concert at the Clark County Fairgrounds coming up on Friday, which is August 7th, showtime at 7 o'clock. So we'll keep this simple right now. Caller 7, if you would like tickets to see Midland in concert Friday at the Clark County Fairgrounds, fire away. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. Call now. Brendan will get you information, and we'll hook you up with Midland tickets for the Clark County Fairgrounds coming up on Friday. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. You country fans, I want to hear from you. Fire away. 503-248-0620. I should probably call in myself and win the tickets so that I can get cheap access to the fair for my kids. 503-248-0620. Call now. We got tickets for Midland at the Clark County Fairgrounds. Caller 7 will get tickets for Midland coming up on Friday at the Clark County Fairgrounds. 503-248-0620. And who else they got coming up? 503-248-0620. Call now for Midland tickets. I Love the 90s on Saturday, August 8th with Tone Loc, Young MC and Vanilla Ice, Collective Soul on Sunday, August 9th. But call now for your Midland tickets, 503-248-0620. And I've got to be honest, I've never heard of Midland. And it's not that I don't like country, it's just not my go-to genre. 503-248-0620. Call now, and Brendan will get your information. Caller 7 will get tickets for Midland at the Clark County Fairgrounds on Friday. 503-248-0620. Call now for your chance to win. And Dave Bartu's coming up at 5:15, or just after 5:15, and we'll talk some football. He told me he's been working on a lot of different things in terms of information and input that he wants to get into the system. So let me see if I can find this here. Okay. So Bartu, this guy's too smart for me. That's all I know. But they've got their new website where they've got Bartu's information, and they're utilizing AI to give you access to the best information. So let's see here, Dave Bartu. Literally sitting here modeling prop betting and the best fantasy weekly leans in the NFL. That's what he was working on when I texted him, which is pretty amazing. I want to hit him with some NFL totals as well, and we'll just continue to talk about his website, which is pretty awesome. And I think I'm going to ask him about Dan Lanning as well. I'm really impressed with what the Ducks have done and the fact that they're knocking right at the door once again. And I like the way their schedule lays out this year. I had some buffoon tell me the other day that he thinks that the reason why the Ducks did not win a national title last year is because of Dante Moore. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Dante Moore is a legit quarterback. He was terrific last year. Yeah, he did not perform well against Indiana, but who did? Indiana was a serious problem. In fact, they got good news today. The Indiana Hoosiers. Don't forget, Josh Hoover is going to be their quarterback. Where is that? They've got a big-time player coming back. But yeah, Indiana's going to be great. Yeah, here it is. Indiana star defensive lineman Stephen Daly will return to the Hoosiers for his 5th year. That according to Pete Thamel. Daly, an honorable mention all Big Ten selection last year, will boost an already deep and talented defensive group up front for the defending national champs. Daly ranked 3rd nationally in 2025 with 19 tackles for loss to go along with 5.5 sacks. He missed the entire playoff after suffering a knee injury during the post-game celebration following the Hoosiers' 13-10 win over the Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Daly was cleared by Indiana officials for a 5th and final year in the wake of the district court ruling in Colorado. He originally began his career at Kent State before transferring to Indiana prior to last season. So, I mean, the Big Ten is super loaded up. USC is expected to be really good. Oregon's going to be awesome. Ohio State's going to be great. Obviously, Indiana, the defending national champs. And for those of you who, did not watch a lot of Big 12 football last year, Josh Hoover's going to be fun to watch in a Hoosier uniform. Accurate. He's got some mobility, good leadership. Like he looks like a guy that will fit what Kurt Cignetti wants to do. Paul in West Lynn has chimed in. He says, Dundon holding Blazer fans hostage, but wanting supporters to advocate for him. This is how Hankins' plea to ticket holders reads. And Paul is a season ticket holder. He got that message from Dwayne Hankins today. I mean, I don't really read it that way myself. To me, this just sounds like a president of business operations encouraging Blazer fans to show up in hopes that the city council will understand the importance of this matter so they can come to a quick resolution and get a yes vote coming up on August 12th. Again, you've got to understand it. We're so close to it, and it's so personal to us because it's the Blazers. But you've got to appreciate the political theater. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Both sides, to a degree, are putting on a bit of a show. And they're putting on a bit of a show because they're trying to gain leverage that's going to help their side. That's why the Blazers don't want to have the negotiations in public because, the city has done a good job of gaining public support when they start making details public. And the Blazers have had great success behind closed doors. But both sides are put on a show. And I like that. I like the political theater. The rhetoric and stuff, all the nonsense, they're going to get past that and they'll be fine. I mean, all that matters is that they signed the extended lease and the team's going to remain in Portland for the into the extended future. That's what matters most to me. The rest is all details. But the NBA Board of Governors is not going to allow Tom Dundon to leave if they vote yes and approve the funding for $573 million. Who in their right mind is going to walk away from that type of free money? Not NBA owners. They're not in the habit of turning down free money from the taxpayers. They're just not. It's not going to happen. So we shall see. But tomorrow's a chance for you to voice your concerns, your thoughts, because they're going to have public testimony. And so I want nothing more than somebody to show up in a Denny Avdia jersey or a Damian Lillard jersey. It'd be pretty sweet if Dame showed up to testify himself. But they're going to get this deal done. We will get there, and then we'll be able to move forward and focus on basketball, which is nice. All right, Dave Bar 2, Matrix Edge AI is coming up next. We'll talk some football with him and see what's going on in his mind. And then Idan Krolowitz before the end of the show, giving some details on the leaked emails, the internal emails from the Blazers. All right, he is the world's most interesting man, and I'm looking at his website right now. You got to check out matrixedgeai.com, where you become a founding member for just $5 a month or $50 annually. And Dave Bartu is joining us once again. Dave, my man, it's great to have you back on the show. So many things to talk about. Actually, I haven't talked to you about Dan Lanning for a while, and I was talking about him earlier on the show. What's your overall take on him with his coaching acumen after what you've seen him do over the last few years at Oregon?
God, it's amazing to bring that up, too, because I was just doing a breakdown of where things went wrong in his losses. Because one of the things that he's a great student of trying to learn where bad things happen, how to correct that, right? It's a lot of head coaches focus just on what helps, on winning and positive things. And with Dan, it's really, he's found, I think he's a super detail-oriented guy. And so when you look at his numbers, the one thing that really pops out is that he has 8 losses on his career. Okay? Now, 3 of those losses were blowouts. We're not finding anything in those tapes, right? There's nothing good, nothing bad. It's 63-0 kind of stuff. We just throw it away. But the other 5 close losses, there's 2 key things that happened in those 5 close losses. Number one, every single one, they were trailing at the end of the first quarter. Every single one, right? And one of the reasons being is both the offense and the defense got off to a really slow start. Normally, in a winning situation, Oregon runs about 22 plays on offense. Defense faces about 20. That is a winning situation for them. That is their average 48 wins. When they lose those 5 games they lost, the defense faced 26 plays. The offense ran 15. Right? So right out of the bat, first quarter, boom, wheels fell off. Right? Somebody got punched. They're running behind. The defense can't stop, and the offense is struggling to get going.
Wow. That's awesome. I with your coaching effect, Dave, do you find that coaches with experience and time can improve in their coaching effect number? Meaning, like Dan Lanning, when he started, he was new as a head coach, but with time, you start to understand game situation better, maybe make better decisions. You understand how to game plan better. Do you notice that with guys who have more experience on the sideline?
I do, but a lot of them have it to begin with. See, and my criticism of Dan is very, very small. You have to understand his coach effect is really good. His ability to win games when he doesn't have momentum in his favor is really, really good. And of those 5 games, 2 of them he made negative EV decisions. And what that means is he made a decision to go for it on 4th down, but the result of it, the downside of making that decision inside your 50, is you are literally giving points away. So there was a negative consequence there. Now, I'm not saying he beats Oregon State or he beats Washington, but does he give himself a better chance punting it away and pinning somebody deep inside their 20 than turning it over in a 1-score game inside their 40? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and so when you analyze the numbers, what he did in those back-to-back 4th downs was totally against the grain. And I get it. He's trying to build a culture of tough and a culture of go for it. But when it comes down to tight games, like going for 2 when you don't need to, and just making small decisions that cost you points, those add up. And when you're a national championship level program, like Oregon is, undoubtedly, it's those little things that'll get you. So I love the aggressiveness, but it's cost him 2 games. The other ones, the team couldn't recover from taking that early punch in the mouth and flip the script.
That's very interesting. I love this type of insight. Now with the Ducks and this, continued push for a national championship, I don't know how to say this. I guess in my mind, the way I would see it is they're getting better and they're continuing to knock on the doors. So I mean, wouldn't it stand to reason that if you continue to knock on the door and put yourself in a position that eventually you should be able to find a way to get over that hump?
Right. It's so hard, though, right?
It is hard.
It is. I mean, you and I we've been doing this so long in sports, and it's just sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
I agree with that.
You know? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, healthy teams, getting lucky. Yes, all of that.
You're right. And getting over the hump, how many times, I mean, you and I agree that one of the psychological aspects, at least in pro sports, you got to lose before you win.
Yes.
Closing somebody out. I mean, Jordan got smoked by Detroit. He had to learn how to lose.
That's right.
Right? And a lot of these guys, Kirby lost national title games. He had to learn how to lose, you know? And so I think psychologically, every time people like with an Oregon fan, and this is a fan of any program or any franchise that's right on the door, it's like, oh, God, I wish we'd have closed it. Yeah, you do, because you don't know when you're getting back. But if you get back, I think psychologically the value of having been in that situation is really important. The tough thing now in college football is one of the most valuable things is continuity. And so having the guys there that felt the pain, that learned the sting from 1, 2, 3 years ago, those are fewer and far in between. So I think one of the things that you'll see, like with Indiana, those coaches, those players, a lot of them had been together forever, right? They'd been through the fire of 3-4 years together. And as Duck fans, we all saw what continuity did. Mike Bellotti and his staff were together for 25 years. They won a ton of games simply because they were a team. And so with Oregon, yeah, I agree with you on your original one. Is like, are they getting closer? Are they eventually going to break through? You would think so. Yeah. But in this day and age of NIL, man, everybody goes into a season with holes. Oregon has a couple of massive holes in terms of their potential that not a lot of people are talking about, but everybody has warts. But Dan is great, and I really do hope he breaks through at some point.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Dave Bartu, Matrix Edge AI here on the Rip City Drive. Indiana made a choice. Fernando Mendoza onto the NFL. Of course, he's going to be a rookie for the Raiders this year. Josh Hoover was chosen to come over in the portal to replace him. Ultra productive during his time at TCU. What do you think about their choice to go with Hoover at quarterback?
Ultra productive, but he never carried the team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
See, a lot of people look at Mendoza at Cal and go, "Well, he won. What was he, 6-6? You know, he wasn't that good." Well, I mean, Josh Wilcox was perennially 2-10 without Mendoza. You know, he turned the offense around and had a lot of snaps. With Hoover, yeah, he puts up numbers, but what did TCU do underneath him? I mean, you're talking the Big 12. TCU is a top 3, top 4 talented team. He didn't carry him anywhere. So I'm not that impressed with Hoover. Now, the guy I am impressed with, though, is a guy named Shanahan, and that's our offensive coordinator at Indiana. And he took the kid, he took Rourke out of Ohio, turned him into a superstar in 2024, right? And he ended up getting drafted, and that team lost 2 games. Then Mendoza walks in, never played before, wins a Heisman. So it's not Hoover that impresses me in so much as whoever Shanahan gets is usually pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's no question about it. That's pretty awesome. Dave Bartu is with us. I wanted to ask you, when I talked to you earlier, you said you were literally sitting here modeling prop betting and best fantasy week leans in the NFL. So what did you uncover with MatrixEdgeAI.com with the modeling prop betting? What did you find?
Okay, so it's prop betting and fantasy. I don't know how many of your listeners play fantasy football, right? And try to guess which guys are best to start, which ones are best to sit.
There's a ton.
Right? Oh, my gosh. I started getting into this, and so I created it. So the first thing is on the modeling for who to sit. So get this. I put up on the board, I've been working on this for a few days, okay? And believe me, it's a lot of data. It's every snap, everything you could think of in the NFL for the last 16 years. And I got up on the board, and I'm like,
16 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, every play, every injury, all of it. Home, road, snow, temperatures, grass, turf, back-to-back home, back-to-back road. I mean, there is nothing that I have not fired a bullet in modeling this stuff. So one of the first things I did, because everybody loves a 300-yard passer, right? Everybody loves a 300-yard passer. And I didn't realize how rare they are. 300-plus in the NFL is a dang good Sunday. So I started modeling what are the predictors for a 300-yard game. And I got it down to 3 different tiers. There's the smash tier. There's the lean tier, which is your middle. So I got your smash and your pass. Pass, you don't want anything to do with those guys. The average pass guy over the last 3 years only has 216 yards a game. The average smash guy, 276. So almost 60 yards per game per quarterback in the difference. But here's the difference in likelihood of a 300-yard game. The smash quarterbacks any given week are 457% more likely to have a 300-yard game than the pass guys.
Wow.
So I broke down quarterbacks. I broke down wide receiver 1. I'm right in the middle of running back 1, and that's for fantasy. Now on the prop side, what it's showing is there's pockets. And so one of the things coming up in week 1, this is one of the cool things, is quarterback yards in week 1. I'm not going to go into it right now, but we're going to tease this for a special show later on. Quarterback yards in week 1, there is a special box to put everybody in, and in the last 3 years, it has been hitting 71% if you bet every single quarterback in week 1 in the NFL. We'll talk about that later, but just massive amounts of discovery for the fantasy player, the sports bettor, and so forth right now.
All right. You don't have to give me the top one, but can I assume that names like Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, maybe Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, are those the guys that are probably at the top of the list in terms of fantasy production at running back?
Well, it's not just overall production, because I've found with fantasy, you have so many different leagues, but a lot of it is just trying to pick the guy that is going to excel the most that week, right, versus your league and so forth. So what I'm trying to do is week over week is identify the guys that are going to outperform based on a lot of different factors. And then the separate one is focusing on the guys that perform for the season. So like a prop bet, who's going to hit their season-long yards, their season-long touchdowns. And yes, some of those guys have high ceilings, but what I've also factored in is durability. And the NFL, you and I both know, it's a violent sport, and you don't realize it, but there's a lot of guys that miss 1, 2, 3, 4 games, and each one they miss, it really whittles away at your ability to either hit the over, which most people bet, or hit the under if that's been available to you.
Hey, Dave, I just got a text message. I think I know what you meant by the term. You said smash pass. Can you explain what that is?
Oh, it's a red light, green light. It's a red light, green light. So let me. Heck, I can give you an example, dude. Check this out. So it's right here in front. Oh, so wide receiver yards. Okay, so I'm looking at 2023, week 1, 2023. And this is back testing modeling. And in week 1 of 2023, there was only one guy to smash, which is basically the green flag. This is your best risk. And his total, his yards total for the game, his prop was 88.5. And our model was 97.5, but it said he had the highest potential for the most receiving yards that week, which he actually ended up having. It was 213 yards in that week 1. But that was the only guy that exceeded the high enough threshold to green light playing him if you're fantasy or if you're betting. On the pass guys, these are guys that are expected to be under their numbers, vastly underperform. These are guys you just simply don't want to take the risk of having on your fantasy team that week if you can help it, because their projection is very low, and it could be a bunch of factors, right? It could be on the road, back-to-back on the road, the quality of the passing defense they're facing, the quality of the passing offense they've had over the last 4 weeks. Like I said, A lot of variables go into it, but the smash is that's the green light guys you want to play. The pass, those are the guys that are really likely to underperform for you.
That is incredible. Dave Bartu is with us. So how is MatrixEdgeAI.com going to help people when it comes to those prop bets week to week with the games that are being played?
So right now, what we're feeling right now is all the subscribers get all of the modeling, whether it is spreads, whether it's totals, whether it's prop bet leans, whether it's fantasy, all NFL, they'll get all that stuff Monday. And for the people that don't want to subscribe, what we're talking about is maybe having like a show on Wednesday that talks about prop bets and one that talks about fantasy and one that talks about the spreads. And we go through everything that we're seeing in the numbers for the non-subscribers. So you either subscribe and get it all early, wait for the show to come out later. But our goal is using all of the data and everything we know about multiple AI systems to be able to get listeners to reduce their risk in their betting and what they're looking at in the NFL week over week.
That's so awesome. I'm looking at the homepage right now on your website, MatrixEdgeAI.com. How easy is this going to be for people to use when they log in and go to the site?
It's extraordinarily easy because once you're a subscriber and you're logged in, the articles are right there chronologically, or you can sort by them. If you're a Seahawks fan, you can just type in Seahawks and boom, Seahawks pull up. You know, if you want to know the latest stuff on coaching, boom, it'll organize it for you. You want to know the latest stuff on fantasy, boom, it's right there. And then everything is on the site. This is where the AI comes in. It's automated. So one of the things that I developed just this week is the AI tracks the two deep of every NFL team, and every morning it posts on its own. I don't even have to make the post. It creates it, it posts it, and it posts everybody in the NFL that moved day over day on the two deep. So if you're a fan of any team, you can watch the two deeps move simply with MatrixEdgeAI.com.
You know what's awesome about this? I'm looking at your page on the Las Vegas Raiders right now. You've got a player prop summary where you have the season outlook with projections for their top offensive players. In this case, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, Trey Tucker, and Fernando Mendoza. If you scroll down, it uses the scheme and coaching, which factors in your information with the head coach, the quarterback, the offensive line, the weapons, and the defense. And you've also got the breakdown with your metrics on strength of schedule. This is amazing.
Right, and so you can sit there and you can look at, so when you look at Ashton Genty, you can see the entire 17-week schedule and the games where he is projected at home and on the road to go up against weaker rush defenses. Those are in green. The ones in red, those are going to be the strong rush defenses. You don't want to be playing them those weeks. Probably not going to have a lot of yards. So, everybody right now, if you're going to Seattle, passing or running, everything's in the red, because they're coming off great pass and rush defense last year with a lot of continuity. So it's been fun having this broken out, and I think the fact that we are diving into offense and defensive coordinator matchups and grading them is something very unique to the NFL.
All right, I've got one more question for you because I haven't asked you about this, but I just want to know where you come out on this. It looks like at some point we're going to get to a 24-team playoff. What's your overall take on that idea and playoff expansion?
I think it sucks. I think it sucks. Okay, so for a lot of reasons. Okay, emotionally, here's my take. Okay, is emotionally, I like my college football to be different than my NFL. My NFL, to me personally, is stale. It's cold. There's no upsets. There's no bands. There's no traditions. Very few, right? It's just wins and losses get to the playoff reset. And, and everybody plays their way into the playoff, and it's a massive, half the teams get in, half don't, right? And in college football, look, I don't want 8-4 teams. You lost 4 out of 12 games. You don't belong in my playoff. I don't want to see it, right? The other thing is you're already starting to see it because they're talking about if they go to 16 or 24, that means to win a national title, you are playing a minimum of 17 football games, 12 regular season, 5 postseason. minimum of 17. Okay? So what you are going to see is the good coaches with a lot of potential, they are going to try to water down their schedule as much as possible. All the good non-conference stuff disappear. It's going to go away. It's going to go away completely. You're already seeing guys canceling left and right. And to me, the simple fix, here's your simple fix, though, okay, in the numbers. This is what the numbers tell me. The numbers tell me, so last year, Notre Dame and Texas were two really good teams that were left out, right?
That's correct.
If they're in, do people really have much to argue about? No, probably not, right? 2 years before that, who was left out? Alabama and Ole Miss. Indiana got in, right? And there's two teams that were left out. Here's your problem. It is a 10-2 playoff system. There's 10 Power 4 teams, and there's 2 G6s. It's time for the 2 G6s to earn it on merit and not have an automatic bid. And I know people listen and go, oh, Dave, what about Cincinnati? Those teams are never coming back. They're gone. All your good G6s, your Cincinnati, your UCF, those are now in the Big 12. And then with NIL, which started the official NIL, in my data, 2023, football changed. And I could literally sit down with you and show you the quality dropped. And it dropped in the G6. The Vegas odds showed me it dropped. And so those quality teams aren't there anymore. Stay at 12, make it merit-based, drop the G6, top 12 get in. We've cured the problem instead of kicking the can down the road and watering down our regular season.
That's so awesome. Dave Bartu, the world's most interesting man. Make sure you check out the website, matrixedgeai.com, right now, where you can become a founding member, $5 a month or $50 annually. Dave, that was great, buddy. Keep up the good work, and I can't wait because we have a lot more to talk about before the season kicks off.
Do not be a stranger. You got my number. I am ready to roll anytime the phone rings from your show, buddy.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate it. Dave Bartu here on the Rip City Drive. When we come back, big thanks to Dave. I love talking with him. Check out the website, matrixedgeai.com. We'll be joined by Edon Krolowitz for the latest on the Blazers leak through the records request. All right, this guy's been busy today, so I really appreciate him making time for the show. He had sent me a text saying that he knew of some very interesting information which was going to pop with the report, and it has on K2 now, and the title of the story is very simple, and it says, internal emails reveal the Blazers debated responding to Portland's Moda Center questions. Let's welcome Edon Krolowicz back to the show. He is from Rip City, not Rip Off. Edon, thanks for making time, brother.
What's up, Chad? How are you, man?
Oh, great. I'm looking at and have been reading through the report on K2 by Ray Gazaway that you sent over to me. Internal emails obtained by K2 show the Portland Trailblazers leaders debated whether to respond to the city of Portland's questions for commitments on private investment, rent, labor agreements, and other key pieces of a proposed Moda Center deal, with one executive saying the city's request felt like a, quote, trap. What's your reaction to this latest break based on a records request?
So I think the most interesting thing is when the Blazers just recently talked in the work session, they said that it was the first class thing that got brought up by Steve Novick. That was the thing that chilled their negotiations. But as you can tell, this happened 10 days before that work session ever happened on June 24th. This was on June 15th. And so we can now see that the Blazers were, basically not responding to messages from the city long before anyone mentioned that first class, the first class claim. And so I think, this is obviously a leak from them. I don't think they intended these internal emails to go out, but they kind of forwarded it as part of the public records request. And I think it actually is a good insight into, the Blazers basically trying to do this entire thing behind closed doors because that's where they feel like they have the most pressure. And the more stuff comes out publicly, the worse their position gets.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I started reading from it, is the comments you made on my show earlier this week, Adam, where you said that the Blazers, when they're working behind closed doors, they don't face the public pressure, and they're able to get things done quickly, which is in their favor, like we saw initially with the state of Oregon. But now, as you pointed out on the show, that when things became public and people, the Blazer fans and people in the community, started to be aware of what the city was asking, they found it to be very reasonable, and that started to put pressure on the Blazers, right? That's when things really started to turn.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna ratchet up between now and next week. I mean, I think again, this doesn't really do a great job of showing that they're negotiating in good faith. I mean, I think everything the city asked in those emails was pretty reasonable. When the Blazers asked about, removing some of the things in the bridge lease, I think they provided a lot of different options. The city provided a lot of different options to say, look, we're not going to hold these things against you and we can work around. And the Blazers also asked them to start committing money quickly. And the city said, well, we can do that if you guys are willing to work with us. And so, the city's really putting their best foot forward. And it seems like the Blazers have been kind of stonewalling them. And I think from what I gather, the reason they're doing that is they're waiting until after this August 12th date so that they can get back into the quiet rooms where no one can see what they're asking for, because what they're asking for is the biggest subsidy that's been ever given for an NBA arena deal. And, Tom Dundon wants that to happen. And I think the city realizes now that, we're down to do a fair deal, but this is crazy. Like, you're trying to do something that's unprecedented here in terms of a public subsidy. And I think the more people know about it, the more they're saying there's nothing fair about this.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. So the $573 million that's a part of this package to renovate Moda Center, that'd be the biggest public package in NBA history?
Well, we have to remember that the 573 is not the actual final number, right? The 573 is just the capital contributions for the renovation up front, but it doesn't take into account the bond interest, right, which is hundreds of millions of dollars. It doesn't take into account the $275 million that the city is promising in maintenance fees, and it doesn't take into account the interest for the county as well. So when you add all that up, it's about $580 million from the state. It's about $400 million from the city, and it's $138 million from the county. That's about $1.1 billion in total. So what we're really talking about here is not $573 million. We're talking about $1.1 billion in subsidy, and the Blazers say, we want to pay none of that. We want to offer zero on that, and that would be unprecedented.
Wow. Okay, so this really uncovers the original reason why you put together the website Rip City Not Rip Off, right? You want a deal to get done. We all want a deal to get done, but at the same time, it has to be reasonable to where we, the taxpayer and the city, the state, and the county are not getting screwed in the process. So really the Blazers are looking to get all of the funding, and they don't want to pay rent. They want to be able to run the building, and they don't want to share in the profits. That's pretty much what you're talking about, right?
And it seems now that they don't even want to make the 20-year commitment. I mean, they're not they're saying that they're kind of moving the goalpost here, saying, your taxes structure is bad, and Blue Star runs out of donuts too quickly, and all these other things. It seems like they keep coming up with new issues and new hurdles, which, as a Blazers fan, that's kind of rough. What we would want them to do is come forward, answer the questions, go back and forth, redline the documents like any agreement. I've done lots of business agreements in my life. One party puts forward, terms. The other party says, I like this, I don't like this. You redline the document, you go back and forth. I think that's the expectation the public has had, and that's not what's happening because Dunyan is taking a hard stance. And, I can't speculate why he's doing that, except for, he wants to just anchor until the very last moment and wants to use his leverage until the very end, which I understand. I don't think he's doing himself any favors in the eyes of the NBA. And I think we're starting to get, Chad, to this point of no return with sentiment from fans and people in Portland, even people who are not fans, around the organization. And I'm worried that it's going to start to leave a bad taste in people's mouths even after this is all said and done.
Yeah, meaning that even if you get a deal done, you get the extended lease signed, that some of the damage that was done could be irreversible.
I'm hoping that that's not true, but it's starting to become more true. I think for the first time in the last kind of week or two, with the statements that have been made by the Blazers executive team. I think a lot of people who are kind of on the fence have now really realized, this is not in good faith. And I think the documents that Wright has provided, which I think everyone needs to go look at, I think they're further proof that this is not really a negotiation in good faith. And I can only speculate why, but it's definitely not a good look for the Blazers org.
So you think at the very least what they're trying to do is, if you stall and there's not a yes vote on August 12th, then that would allow the Blazers to go back and negotiate in the dark when it's not made public, and they would have the advantage under those circumstances.
Well, I think it's going into the dark regardless. I think even if they vote yes on August 12th, the conversations now move back to the joint authority, and hopefully, the city council.
They don't want to agree to anything. They don't want to agree to anything until after the vote, and then they can go back into the dark and start to apply pressure.
Exactly right. Because then they don't have to apply. Then nothing they say can be scrutinized. Right? It's going to be scrutinized only by a very small group of people who also have an incentive to not say anything and are actually under NDA. They can't say anything even if they wanted to. So the Blazers put in this NDA back in 2022 when they were negotiating the bridge lease agreement, and that has persisted into this negotiation. And obviously we can understand why negotiations need to be private. I don't think you're going to do the entire negotiation in public, but I do think there is at least. We want to make sure that our city councilors and people who are voting on this have time to actually know what's going on, because a lot of times in these arena deals, what happens is there's a strong mayor involved. He negotiates a deal with the team, and they kind of go behind closed doors, and then they, a week before the vote, they give it to the city council and to basically rubber stamp it. And I think that's what he was hoping would happen here. And, Portland's just not that kind of town.
Wow. All right. So for me, and I want to get your take on this, like the one no-go for me is at the very least, if you are going to give out that much money in public subsidy for the renovations on Moda Center, at the very least, there's got to be a 20-year lease agreement in place and signed. No chance for a buyout, no chance to get out of that. It's got to be 20 years minimum. I would prefer 30, but I could settle for 20. What are the other non-starters for you if you're taking a look at it from the city's point of view?
I mean, I think those provisions are non-starters. I think there's a lot of, from the council's perspective, they said labor peace agreements, they believe in union labor. So that's a non-starter for them, and that's obviously going to cost them a little bit more.
Yeah.
For me, I always say, I want a fair deal. I'm going to put that out, as a fair deal. I don't know that I have I think my non-starters would be the same as you. I want really strong protections. If it was up to me, I'd ask for 30 years and not 20. But I understand the reasons why they chose 20, because that's kind of like the life of the Moda Center. I think they're trying to think about how do we, we're knocking this place down in 20 years. There's not really many arenas that last more than 50 years. And so, that's another thing, Chad, we need to think about too, is like, I don't think any politician today is thinking about what's going to happen in 20 years, but we all know that place is getting knocked down in 20 years, and then we're going to be having this conversation again. Some future generations are going to be having this conversation again, except it's going to be a, $2-3 billion renovation or new arena at that point. So we got to make sure that we're protecting the city and protecting the future generations and our kids and what they're going to, the taxes they're going to have to pay. At the same time, we want this team to stay here. We want to make sure that we put forward a deal that the NBA can say, this is an acceptable deal, because you have to remember, Chad, I think this is something people forget. If the NBA works on PR, right? They don't want people to look at the NBA as this shady organization that's extorting cities for money. And so if a city comes forward, like Portland is doing right now, and are basically saying, look, we want you to negotiate in good faith, and we're already offering you $1 billion, basically. Almost nothing out, no project plan, no nothing. If the team then says that's not good enough, we're going to leave anyway, that looks really bad on the NBA. I mean, and it also tells every city in the future, it doesn't really matter what you offer because they can leave anyway. And so the NBA does not want that, and I do not see the NBA. I think if this August 12th, if there's a yes here on August 12th, even with the weak drafted term sheet as it is, there is no way that I see a path where the NBA is going to let Tom Dundon move. And then the question just becomes, what kind of deal are we getting? What kind of return could we get back? But I mean, it's a non-starter for me. I don't think there's any way that the NBA looks at this and says, yeah, this is, the city gave you everything you wanted and it's still not enough. And that's somehow acceptable.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But let me ask you this, with the email leaks, after you had a chance to read through it, does it change your view on this process at all, or are you still in the same place? I
mean, personally, I think the draft term sheet was weak. I mean, I know the Blazers said it was a non-starter. I think that's kind of BS. I think that's posturing. I think the draft term sheet is about as good as you could get. I mean, it basically ends up being a 9%. You're getting 9% back on a $1.1 billion. We're only getting 9 cents on the dollar back on that. Meanwhile, he's going to be making $2.5 billion over the course in revenue over the course of that. He's making somewhere like $10 to $15 for every dollar he puts in. So I don't know how the draft term sheet could be any better for him. So I think that's why him saying it was a non-starter is kind of crazy. I personally, as a taxpayer, would love to see that draft sheet get bolstered a little bit and ask for real protections and private contributions. I don't know if the city council has the cojones or whatever you want to say to add that in there, but or the wherewithal. But I think I can't imagine the draft term sheet getting any weaker than it is right now. I mean, this is basically a steal, and I honestly think that's why the city did it. I think that's why they put it out there, because they wanted the world to see, hey, we're giving this guy the best deal he could ever ask for, and he still said no. And so, what's the deal, right? And they kind of anchored, and they kind of set the price first, and I think that was the right move for the city to do. All right. One other question for you. What was your reaction to the letter that Dwayne Hankins sent out to season ticket holders today, asking them to show up to City Hall tomorrow? I think my reaction is probably similar to all the other folks, which is that's kind of rich. It's a kind of a rich thing to ask after you bash the city and for all the reasons. And I mean, I don't know Dwayne Hankins. I mean, I have no personal judgment. He's doing a job, right? He this is his job, and he has to represent the wishes of his owner. It was very clear that he was reading from a piece of paper that someone had pre-written the message. So I don't know. I don't know how. I don't think he gets any gratification from doing any of this stuff, but at the same time, he deserves all the smoke because if you're going to come at the city and saying all the things that you did, then you deserve all that smoke in return. Edon Krolowitz here on the Rip City Drive. Edon, you are the man. Thank you for the alert. Thank you for jumping on, and thank you for summarizing. I mean, you know what's crazy about this whole saga? It's like almost every day we get something new. And usually it's a poor reflection on the owner, which is wild. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens after August 12th. Hopefully Tom Dundon shows up, and if he doesn't, then I think we'll have more to worry about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, buddy. Hey, have a great night. Keep up the great work. You are a stud. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.
All right. Don Krolowitz from Rip City, not Rip Off. You can go to K2 right now and read the leaked emails that were a part of the record's request. Okay, big thanks to Dave Bartu. He was sensational. My man Daniel Christurian, who is down in Phoenix, tomorrow morning is his donation, giving his kidney to his best friend. So I'll keep you up to date on the details I get from that. A big thanks to my man Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program. And to all of you for listening, I appreciate you. You guys have a good night, and we'll check you back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3 on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Thank you, my man.
All right, my brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good work. Good work. Very smooth. No technical issues. You were on point.
Hey, man, I was trying to be on my best, especially since I know you covered for me with Rich earlier, so I appreciate you.
No, it's good. No, I told him I lied. I said, he's got a water leak at home. He couldn't leave. He's like, oh, that's no problem.
Hey, well, it's not a lie. That was a water leak, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah, I just repurposed it, so it's technically not untrue.
Exactly. One other little thing I wanted to mention to you too, just so it's on your radar. Of course, the learning that we got assigned in the usual business training we have to do or whatever. I went through it, and the thing won't tell me it's completed. So I've got a help ticket out to iHeart. I just didn't want you to think I was ignoring it or anything like that.
Well, no, what I did, it did the same thing to me. And so what I did is I went back in a few times and restarted the course, and then it finally said I was done.
Okay, I'll try that, because I was messing around with it earlier today when I was waiting on Joe, and man, it was about ready to throw my laptop. Darn.
Yeah, just go back in. I mean, it did the same thing to me, but I just relaunched the course a couple of times and scrolled down. And I think there's a thing where you have to hit sign or click and then sign it. So make sure you click on everything. And I think there's one part where you had to like click on something to show that you read something, and then you agree and then hit submit. So it's something like that. But it took me about 3 or 4 times through before I finally got it to acknowledge.
Yeah, it was weird. So I'll mess around with it again. And like I said, I put in a help ticket, but I have no idea how quickly those brain trusts at iHeart work. So I just wanted to let you know.
No, I appreciate it. And but thanks for getting on that. I did mine yesterday. It was painful. So
yeah, no, they're not fun. Like I said, there were 2, and I did 1, and 1 was totally fine. It was just the business code of conduct. I'm like, damn, I've listened to this thing twice now. And I'm like, it's like, it's brain numbing, man.
No, it's bad. No, it sucks.
But anywho, all right, boss, I'll let you run, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, later, bro.
Thanks, Jeff.